How was your day, buddy?
Not bad. I'm still like adjusting to my new job. I'm tired, if I'm being frank, but it's fine. It's a lot of me standing on my feet like basically all day, so like my lower body is like shot.
Yeah,
But it's
dude.
good though.
This week or today rather, dude. Work was kicking each and every testicle that I have, bro. It was so annoying today, bro. Today was like on another level of annoying, like ball kicking from work, bro.
Yeah,
God,
it's like
I'm actually.
what was my? It's like my one of my favorite lines from Avengers Endgame is when Chris Pratt gets kicked in the nuts, and he was like, "You missed the first time, and then you got both of them the second time."
Yeah, man.
It's one of those days.
Yeah, one of those days. I'm really happy to just like not be working right now and just be talking to you about video games. Welcome everybody to the Glentendo Podcast. This is my podcast. I'm Glentendo. This is a weekly Nintendo / Smash community, big brain, galaxy brain conversation podcast. The show goes up every week for supporters on patreon.com every Thursday, and then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and a million other podcast services that I didn't know existed until my my podcasting host site said that we were on like 80 podcasts, like streaming things. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even know these existed. But anyway, this week, we're going to talk about the Pokemon Direct from last week and a bunch of other crap. And joining me, returning champion, my good friend, Koopa. Koopa, say hello to all your fans. They're cheering, they're screaming, they're so happy that you're back.
Yeah, I'm gloating from the top rope right now. Which of those like offbeat podcast apps is your favorite? Mine is Pocket Casts out of all like the random ones.
Pocket Cast. I never even heard of that. That's
Yeah,
like,
my distribution site, my RSS feed for my podcast like has me on a bunch of platforms I just straight up have never heard of. Like Google
yeah.
Podcasts, did not know what that was.
Yeah, like I had no idea Google had its own podcast. I mean, it makes sense. I just never heard of it. And speaking of which, I failed to mention as I introduced you, Koopa is obviously a good friend of mine. You've heard him on the podcast before, but he's also the host of the Koop'd Up Podcast, which I definitely recommend. Comes out bi-weekly, right? Comes out
It
every
comes
other week.
No, we're actually doing weekly uploads now. I've had enough time and energy and content to where at least through the rest of this month, we're uploading weekly. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. And that podcast, the reason I recommend it is because I'm just like, I listen to so many gaming podcasts and now like I'm doing this show regularly and gaming is like 1/10 of like my personality. I love games, obviously, but it's cool that you're doing a show where you talk about other stuff and pop culture stuff and it's not just video games, but obviously there's a lot of gaming talk too. So that's awesome too.
yeah, no, I'm in the same exact boat. I love being able to talk about games that I like, and we're gonna do a lot of that today because we're right in my wheelhouse today for sure. But it is nice to sit down and like kind of talk about some other stuff that piques my interests. So stay tuned for the next couple of weeks because I got some. We're going to be diving into some comic book stuff in the next couple of weeks. If you're into that, John.
What kind of comic book stuff? Like comic book TV shows or movies or like just actual comic books?
Well, WandaVision at the time of this recording has its last episode come out this coming Friday. And I am so excited to talk about that show in its completed state because I'll just go out on a limb and say it right now. WandaVision is the best show on television right now. And if you're not watching it, you are doing yourself a disservice. Last time I checked, it is the highest rated Marvel property according to Rotten Tomatoes with a 93% certified fresh rating.
Wow. Yeah. You already know how I feel about this, but
Yeah.
I've been hearing such good things about this show and like from people who are like me, I'm like at peak superhero fatigue. So like I kind of have to watch it now because the concept seems really, really amazing. And the fact that everyone is saying like they really pulled it off, I'm just now at this point where I'm so curious about it that I'm like, okay, I already have Disney Plus. I might as well I might as well just watch it at this point. At least I'll watch an episode. And like obviously I've known about these characters since before they were movie characters. So I'm gonna be digging those references when I get to that show eventually.
Yeah.
Um
It's definitely worth your time. And I'm as the cinephiles like loathe at how cinema has really shifted towards like kind of how like the superhero genre has like really dominated like the movie scape for a while thanks to the MCU. I'm ready for the TV heads to start like feeling that same pain because anybody with any sort of importance in the show deserves to win an Emmy. So
yeah.
I will now be gently getting off my soapbox. And you will hear, and if you want to hear me talk more about that, yeah, I'll plug at the end. So
Definitely. So yeah, actually, I've been getting a lot of feedback about last week's insane Zelda 35th episode, our longest episode yet. It was over 3 hours long. And despite the length, many people told me that it was like one of their favorite, if not their favorite episodes of the show. So I just wanted to say up top that what we're planning to do is moving forward, the Anon Zelda conspiracy episodes. We will be doing more of those, but they'll obviously be shorter. What I want to do in the future is have like an episode that focuses more deeply on just one like major conspiracy, and then we'll kind of go down that rabbit hole for like about an hour and a half. So it won't be a 3 hour one. We had to cover the whole timeline plus some other stuff. So the first one is longer than any of the ones that are good to come will be. But I bring that up now because people gave me feedback, and I want to let them know that there will be more of those at some point. But I also wanted to address that Koopa was famously and very clearly missing from that episode. I mean, it was me, R Hungry, and Koopa was replaced by Zelda conspiracy expert GWJ. And I just wanted to tell Kyle right now that, I just couldn't with a clean conscience have you on that episode, being that you describe yourself as a fair weather Zelda fan. The fact that you're even on this show at all ever is me just being nice. All right.
you're definitely phoning in years worth of favors for sure for having me on. And as much as it hurts me as America's newly minted fringe Zelda fan, I would there's no person I would rather be replaced by on a podcast than a man who famously wears flip-flops year round despite living in the
Oh my
Northeast
God.
in my good friend and our good friend GWJ. So he did a phenomenal job.
Oh my God. I forgot that. Yeah, he's one of those guys that wears flip flops literally all year, bro. Oh my God. That's
Yeah, he's a crazy
hilarious.
person. I'll just come out and say it. Like,
That's so funny.
there's no reasoning with people like that.
Dude, it's also funny to call you a Fairweather Zelda fan because you've played like at least 5 or 6 or maybe about that amount of games in the series. So it's like it's obviously a joke. I'm exaggerating. Like, the average person or even the average gamer has played probably less than that. So you're definitely, here's the thing. You're qualified to call yourself a Zelda fan. I'm going to give you your pass right now. You don't need to say Fairweather, but you just need to say Fairweather and casual Zelda fan around me and Hungry and GWJ. That's it. Outside of us, relative to us, you're fair weather. But compared to the other guys, the other people, you're fine. I'm gonna give you your little pass. You know what I mean? You can call yourself just a regular Zelda fan, and you don't need that little adjective in the front.
The next time I have a water cooler conversation about the Master Sword, I will definitely make sure to have my pass out and ready so that these people know that I am qualified to be talking about such things. So I
Get,
appreciate that.
get your Z word pass, okay? So, so, um, yeah, we're moving on. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is, did you buy Super Mario 3D All Stars? Because we're now somehow 2021 has just, dude, a quarter of it is just gone, and now we're in the third month of the year, and I realized like, oh yeah, all that Mario 35th anniversary stuff that they announced late last year, it's starting to come to a close, and like you're not going to be able to buy this game after this month. This is it. Like if you don't buy this game by the end of the month, apparently it's going to be gone forever. So, did you buy it yet, or are you planning to, or what are your thoughts on that?
So I bought most of the stuff. I bought the 3D All Stars collection. Probably like the weekend it launched. I think. If not, maybe like the next week. Some of the extra stuff, like the Mario 35, like Tetris 99 thing, I did not get because like it's really when it comes to like spin-off games like that, I really have to be like invested in the genre. And as much as I enjoy Tetris, like I've I haven't played a single game of Tetris 99 like on my Switch, even though it's like there for the picking. So I got the stuff that I knew I was gonna play like immediately, which is the 3D All Stars collection, and I am slowly making my way through Mario 64, a game that I actually have never owned physically myself. I've only ever played it at like friends or relatives' houses. So like there's a lot of stuff about this game that I like don't remember or like haven't experienced on my own time. And it's been a lot of fun. So before the Mario 35 collection goes into the Disney Vault forever, I highly recommend everybody pick up at least the 3D All Stars pack.
Yeah, dude, it's like replaying those games. I got it obviously on at like midnight because I've been waiting to replay Mario 64 forever. Like that's like one of my favorite games like of all time. And so, and then obviously Galaxy and Sunshine I haven't played in forever either. Um, so obviously it's an easy recommendation. Like please buy this game because the thing is that we have no idea. Like I don't know if I try like. Do you want to call Nintendo's bluff with this and go, the rumors are that they're going to sell the games individually on like the eShop later on. But part of me is like, no, dude, they really mean that these games are gone from the Switch. But it's like so weird because in the recent like sales data thing that they put out, dude, this collection has sold like 9 million copies in like 4 or 5 months. And it's like, dude, that's like actually insane. The amount of games that have not sold that well, like across all platforms, is kind of it's insane how big of a number that is. So I don't know. I mean, I think that they're probably part of me thinks this is all like a marketing thing, and they're not actually gonna like. There's gonna be a way for you to get this collection or maybe at least the games individually at some point. But part of me is also like, nah, dude, they're really throwing that in the vault, man. Like they're actually just gonna commit to not selling you this ever again. Like how I'm waiting for the Twitter rage because people were already mad about it when it was announced as a limited release. But like when it actually becomes reality, like what's April 1st? I need to see everyone's Twitter when they're like they realize, oh my god, I can't buy Mario 3D All Stars anymore. This is gone.
Honestly, I'm with you where like I definitely think that Nintendo is like not bluffing when they say that this is just not going to be a thing anymore, because Nintendo has proven, over the course of the months, and you've covered it and I've covered it a bit on our respective shows, that like Nintendo's business practices are like it's very sketchy. So it wouldn't surprise me, for them to take a game, you know, that has been selling like hotcakes, releasing, three of the most beloved games. When you talk to anyone within our age group that played a Nintendo console, one of these three games comes out of their mouths when it comes to games that they loved growing up or just love in general.
Yeah.
And I want to have faith that it's just some like elaborated like 4D chess April Fool's joke that they're just gonna make it go away forever. But if that wouldn't surprise me, but it wouldn't surprise me if they put it on the eShop individually for for maximum capitalism. But it also wouldn't surprise me if they were just like, okay, that's it. You guys can't play with this anymore. Goodbye. So like, I don't know. Nintendo is like, if Nintendo was a poker player, they would win every World Series of poker, because I can truly never tell their bluff sometimes.
Dude, honestly, what I'm thinking of doing is like it's starting to hit me that this is a real thing. I might just buy a physical copy of that game and never open it and just see like if it's worth a lot, like 10 or 15 years from now. Like I usually don't even care about stuff like that, but with this, I'm like, this is really limited. And like, honestly, the people saying that there's going to be a way to get these games, I really don't think so. Because actually, when you think about it, number one, it makes it not an anniversary special thing if it's available forever. That's the first thing. I'm not saying that I approve of that tactic. I'm just saying, like, by definition, they're celebrating Mario's 35th anniversary, and it kind of takes away from the special announcement if it's something that's just always going to be there. But second, when they did this for Mario's 25th anniversary with the on the Wii, they put out like the Super Mario All Stars Super Nintendo game onto. They ported it to the Wii, and it came with this cool packaging and whatever. That was a limited thing too. And actually, I'm pretty sure that the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Wii, like it had a special edition, like steel book release. There was no like standard issue of that game, and that game was also limited. Like there was not. They never reprinted it, and I remember it being very, very valuable like years later. So honestly, I think this is going to be gone. And you're going to have to wait for, another 5 or 6 years or 10 years to go by for them to be like, oh, Mario Sunshine is available now on the latest Nintendo console again for a limited thing. Like, this might really just be the future of how they handle bringing their old stuff forward because there's no virtual console. So, I don't know, man. I mean, the Super Nintendo Classic, the NES Classic, those were limited. Like, and then they brought them back a little bit, but they're gone now. So they might just keep trying to find clever ways of like reselling the old games, but they're not always available. So I don't know.
It's here's what's gonna happen. Nintendo's gonna take the Disney route, and it's gonna be 2040, right? And Nintendo is gonna advance gaming to the point where you're able to play all their games through the browser via the cloud, and Nintendo's gonna drop Nintendo Plus, and that's the only way you're gonna be able to access all of these, limited edition release games, never before re-released ever on the planet. So I want to plant my flag in the sand right there to when that's gonna happen. You all just wait.
Yeah, man. Yikes. Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's like I still own all my old stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. Like, if I really, really want to play Mario Sunshine, I still own the exact same copy I got as a kid, and I have a functioning GameCube. But the more years go by, the harder it's gonna be, man. And like, if you're into a series or a franchise that's not as popular as Mario, it's like it's really you can't expect them to bring those games back because they're inherently just not as popular. Like Mario, he has it easy. You know what I mean? He's so famous and the franchise is so successful that that they're going to bring back each and every game in some form. But like if you're, a Metroid fan or like an F-Zero fan or a Fire Emblem fan, there are a lot of entries in those franchises that you might literally just never see them again because it's like they're too niche to bring back 20 years later. But anyway, moving on to our main topic. We got a Pokemon Direct last week, and it was celebrating Pokemon's 25th anniversary. And they didn't have actually a lot of announcements, which I actually liked. They just focused on three main big announcements. Um, but before we get to that, I wanted to actually discuss. Um, did you watch the intro video that they had that was like just it was like a 25th anniversary like quick montage where they showed like every single iteration of hardware that Pokemon has been on. Like I don't know if did you grow up as like a big Pokemon guy or were you like a middle Pokemon guy or not Pokemon at all?
So this is one of the moments I wish Hungry could be here this week because I want him to make fun of me for calling me a consumer because I love Pokemon. I've been a Pokemon person fan ever since I was a kid. I have vivid memories of my dad buying me the toys because I think he worked like right down. My dad used to work like right down the street from wherever Nintendo New York used to be.
Wow.
When I was a kid. So, occasionally he'd like, drop by for like birthdays and stuff like that and like pick me up Pokemon stuff. I had an Ash Ketchum hat growing up. My fifth birthday party had a Pokemon themed cake, and it just kind of set the motion going forward from there.
Yeah.
I,
So
I I've always loved Pokemon, so
So then watching that like intro thing where they had this, they'd always kill it with these things. Like they did this for like Pokemon Go a while back, and like every now and then the Pokemon company in these directs or just on YouTube, they'll have like a really well-made commercial for their stuff. And this one just, it starts with like the Game Boy and the link cable, and then it just gradually you see people's hands like using different hardware, and it goes all the way through like the GameCube and the Wii, and then obviously now with the Switch. And it was such a cool, like, it tells you like every year that everything came out and like all the Pokemon. And dude, it really, it kicked me in the nostalgia balls, bro. Like I was really like, dude, I was like tearing up because I was like, bro, I really love Pokemon, man. And growing up, that series meant so much to me, and it was more than just like the games. Like it felt like the first gaming community that I was a part of, because it was about the games, but then people would talk about the anime, and then people would trade the cards, and then like I got really into collecting the cards and battling, and then coming back into the games and all that. And watching that video, dude, like I don't know if you had that reaction, but dude, like it really made me. First of all, it made me feel like old, because I remember being a really really tiny kid. I was very small when Pokemon came out, but I remember when it came out, and I remember it taking over the world, and it feels like it's been with me my whole life. So seeing that video, man, like did you get sentimental watching it, or am I just a little coward?
well, even though you are a coward, I am definitely in the same boat as you for sure, man.
Yeah.
It was like I think they did this very similarly. I think when I want to say it's when they announced X and Y, they just went through like a very like long list of the history of the games and what consoles they've been on. But what was very overwhelming for me is that they not only went through all like the peripherals and stuff you can get with it. They talked about the Nintendo printer. They talked about the phone add-on. They acknowledged all the various different card games and anime that came
Yeah.
out.
When I say they went through every bit of hardware, like I literally mean like go watch that video right now. There's stuff in there that I had no idea Pokemon had anything to do with. There was like this one moment where they have like a cell phone, like a Game Boy link cable linked to a cell phone. And I'm like, what? Like when was that a thing? Sorry, but go on.
Yeah, no, it was incredible, and like, I have it really just kind of put into perspective just how big of a media company in general like Pokemon is. Like Pokemon is ridiculously ingrained in the zeitgeist because of how much ground it covers with the TV shows, with the cards, with the games, with all the merchandise it produces. Like my mother has played maybe 5 video games in her entire life, but anytime I'm watching like an anime in my living room or something like that, both my parents, who are in their late 60s, will ask me which one of them is Pikachu, because that's the only like exposure to like anime characters they have. So like the fact that to this day, like 25 years later, Pokemon is still like that, like ingrained within the zeitgeist of culture, just really like put into perspective like how big of a footprint like this franchise has.
Yeah, man. I mean, at this point, like, it's like Miyamoto had this old thing where he talked about during the Wii era. He was talking about how like he had this chart called the wifeometer, and it was basically like he could tell how good a game is by how interested his wife would be in the game. And for me, it's like the momometer, where it's like I can tell how famous a character is by if my mom actually knows this character. And like most people could do that test, but like, dude, my mom is like, it's a lot less game characters than even your mom probably. Like, my mom literally, she only knows 3 video game characters. She knows Mario, she knows Sonic, and she knows Pikachu, and that's it. There's no one else. So the fact that my mom knows Pikachu and knows what a Pokemon is like another. It reached another level of fame. But yeah, they opened the direct with this that amazing video, and like, dude, it's hard for you to be a lifelong fan the way that we are and not like actually feel emotional watching that video. It was happy, it was really great, but it was also like, man, this is just, dude, I'm gonna be like a 65, 70-year old man, like, and Pokemon's probably still gonna be there. So it's just that's insane. But overall, what did you think? we'll get into the individual games and what they announced. But overall, what did you think of the direct? Because um, I would say that even though we're going to get into it and there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and there's definitely stuff that I'm excited about, I feel like the overall consensus is that this was a disappointing Pokemon Direct. And every time I heard that, all I could think about was how the last Nintendo Direct was also something that I think a lot of people felt was disappointing. Just gauging from like Twitter and from the podcasts that I listen to and stuff, even though there's good stuff in both of them, overall, people found them both disappointing. And it just made me think they should have just combined the two. Like this whole idea that Pokemon has its own direct, like I get why that's a thing because they're a whole different company and they operate on their own rhythm and everything. But having all of these announcements in the main direct that we got earlier in February, it probably would have went over a lot better. Do you agree with that? And what do you think of like just the Pokemon Direct in general?
I saw a great tweet like a day before the direct, and multiple people had this take, so it's not like by any means an original thought. But a lot of people were like, no matter what they show in a Pokemon Direct, nobody's going to hate it more than Pokemon fans because Pokemon fans are like impossibly hard to please for whatever reason. Like as much as I love Pokemon, I'm like not as in touch with like the hardcore. It's weird. I'm not as like in touch with that fan base as I feel like I am because I thought the direct was fine. Like compared to the last Pokemon Direct they had, where they spent like way too much time showing them like that Pokemon mobile arena game or whatever it was that I can like
Oh
barely
God, I
remember.
forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah, and they like talked a lot about like Pokemon Sleep and like Pokemon Brush My Teeth and Pokemon I Don't Give a Shit
yeah,
and stuff like that. So like that direct was like, when it came to like content stuff, I was pretty bored, like all things considered, because like outside of I think they announced like the Sword and Shield DLC during that same direct, if I'm correct or whatever. So jury's out on that. But listen, it was a short direct. Um, they they covered a lot of stuff that was to me very interesting, and again, the Pokemon community felt very polarized by that, and we'll talk about that. But like presentation wise, Pokemon always puts on like a good show. Like the people at
yeah,
Game Freak and like Pokemon Company, like they do a really good job of marketing their stuff. And I gotta just I need to bring this up because we're not gonna find a great place to bring it up. The week of the Pokemon Direct was started for me when I read a headline in the Rolling Stones that Post Malone, in honor of the Pokemon 25th anniversary, did a cover of I Only Want to Be With You by Hootie and the Blowfish, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. And let
yeah.
me tell you, it slapped. I just want to bring that up. Uh,
I mean, what better way to commemorate 25 years ago than to do a cover of a Hootie and the Blowfish song? These guys were like, oh, 25 years of Pokemon? Let's go back to 25 years ago and see what people were singing back then.
yeah, that
Um,
headline read like a Mad Lib. Like I
dude,
wasn't sure what I was reading was real or not. It was very
dude.
strange.
It's also just so strange because, like, dude, I mean, everyone is saying this, but like, the Pokemon Company officially partnered with Post Malone to do a Pokemon event. Like, that is just so the last thing I ever would have thought would ever happen in a million years. It's just so funny that that actually happened. Um, but yeah, so uh, the I agree with you, and one of the things about the direct and like what you were saying about how people were disappointed and stuff is that I also started to realize, and like we'll get into the details in a minute, but like I also started to realize that this is like a modern Nintendo problem that I don't see with a lot of other companies or a lot of other brands because um it feels like whenever they do something, it splits the audience, right? And it's kind of this thing of like when you're really, really successful and your audience has been cultivated for 25, 35 years, a lot of these franchises have evolved a lot and have taken different forms over the course of those many years. And people jump in at different parts. So you have dudes who are like, there are dudes who, they came in with the first Zelda game, for example, right? And then it's like 15 Zelda games later, Zelda is something that is very different from that first game. And it's like you risk alienating that guy. But then the person who jumped in the middle, like, oh, Ocarina of Time is my first Zelda game. Like, then when you change the formula later from that, it's like there's that guy gets polarized. And I feel like with Pokemon, that's kind of what's happening where it's so successful and there's so many different types of Pokemon fans to please. Like you create all these different types of fans of your stuff, and it's hard for you to constantly please all of them. And like this direct specifically, I feel like they had three different big announcements and they were kind of three very different projects. And it feels like they're damned if they do and damned if they don't. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe because Twitter has this effect of like we'll go on Twitter, right? And really like we're only following like I'm only following like 700 people. So if my timeline is filled with complaints about the direct, to me it looks like everyone's complaining about the direct, but really it might just be like that subgroup of people that I'm following, and it makes it look like it's more people than it actually is. I think most people love Pokemon stuff and they're going to buy it anyway. And, Sword and Shield is a perfect example. Like that game on our timelines in the Smash community and in like the gaming community stuff that I frequent, that game got completely like destroyed and eviscerated and people were hating on
Yeah.
it all day. And then you look at the sales data and it's like the fastest selling Pokemon game ever. And it just tells you like how different your Twitter is from like the people who actually buy games. So, um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm of a lot of minds about it. Like, I guess moving forward, we'll talk about it. We're both Pokemon fans, so we'll just talk about what we thought. But it's hard for me to know if it was really a disappointing direct or if this is just always what happens with social media. The people who hate something are louder, always louder than the people who love it, and it's going to make it seem like it's disappointing. So I don't know. But the first thing that they talked about was Pokemon Snap, and it's funny that they're not calling it Pokemon Snap 2 because that's what it is. But this is the game. This is the game that I'm really. This is like the one I'm the most excited for, and luckily it's the one that's coming out the soonest. It comes out April 30th. For those who don't know, Pokemon Snap is like a game where you play as like a paparazzi and you invade Pokemon's privacy until they just snap and they just lose it, and so it's just called Pokemon Snap for that reason. But you walk around, you take pictures of Pokemon, and you try to catch them doing embarrassing things. And the whole new hook of this thing is that like the Pokemon light up. There's like this Illumina phenomenon on this island that the game takes place in. And it's like a whole nother layer of like, oh, you might be able to catch him when he's lit up and you could take the picture, but maybe you should wait because he might light up here. And it's that game is really fun and I'm really, really excited about it. How do you feel about Pokemon Snap? I don't know if you played the original, but are you planning to buy this one this coming April?
The original Pokemon Snap was again a game that I played primarily when I went to like friends or relatives' houses. It's not a game that I owned personally because I famously shared it in 64 with my brother, that he barely played. Cough, cough. I will continuously remind him of that. But I loved I love the weirdness of Pokemon Snap. Like when I discovered some of those like shortcuts and like some of those like conditions to get the Pokemon to like evolve in the first game, it like blew my mind as a kid, and I'm totally on board with this game. Mostly just because like I've gone back and like I think they release this. They didn't release the did they re-release the original? I don't remember if they did or not.
No, man. The original is just it's lost in time. Like, if the worst case scenario is that you could get it on the Wii U, and that's it. Like, they never re-released it on the Switch or on the 3DS or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. So no, I'm really really excited about this game. It looks great. I love the illumination gimmick. I think it looks cool. I think in regards like even and out of the three things they announced in this direct, this is definitely the one like I'm least excited about, and I'm still going to buy this game day one and like play it a lot. So like that speaks for where like the floor was for me. But no, I'm 100% stoked to play this game. It looks great. It's been rumored for a long time, and it's finally here, and I am super duper stoked.
Yeah, and it's the thing is that it's like I mean, right now the Switch is like first 3 months of 2021 are not super mind blowing. So for me, I'm actually very excited about it because even though it's coming out April 30th, so it's coming out in basically 2 months from now, since we're in the beginning of March. That's still pretty far away, but it feels like it's like the first or second big release of the year, at least for me, because I'm not going to buy Monster Hunter Rise. That game looks really high quality. It's just that it's not for me. And Mario 3D World, I almost like forget that that was like a big thing that happened because I already played Mario 3D World. You know what I mean? Like that's a port.
Yeah.
So this is like the first big new game that's a first party Nintendo game. So yeah, I can't wait to play this. The original's great, and it's a genre of games that you don't really see. Like there's no technically it's really just an on-rail shooter. You know what I mean? Like it is just kind of like Star Fox or like Time Crisis, but with a camera instead of a gun. But you don't see those kind of games, and it definitely doesn't feel like Pokemon Snap. So Pokemon Snap, that game looks awesome. But actually, probably the biggest announcement from this direct was they finally announced the long rumored Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes are coming to the Switch. And this is the most divisive thing about this direct. So these games are coming out at the end of this year, and they're remakes of Diamond and Pearl, which were originally on the DS. And there's a lot of so I have been seeing for months, at least in our little microcosm of like the game universe, a lot of people really love this generation of Pokemon. And actually, I started to realize that, you and I are a little bit older than the people in the Smash community that we're friends with. So a lot of the people that I see on Twitter, they're of the generation where this was their first Pokemon game. And so it makes sense that they really love this generation and wanted it to come back. And after waiting for a very long time for these games to be ported or be remade, um, it seems like people are not that excited about it, mainly because of how it looks. So, the game is being remade by an outside studio, but Junichi Masuda, the original director of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, he is still co-directing this game out with an outside staff. They're remaking it, and the biggest complaint is just that it does not look very good by 2021 standards, and in particular, people have a problem with the fact that the characters, the protagonists that you play as, they're chibiified. So instead of like, for example, in Sword and Shield, when you playing as your trainer, ever since Sun and Moon, they've like had a full size trainer. They don't shrink you down or whatever.
Right.
And in this remake, it's staying very true to the original where they shrink you down, and people are really upset about that design decision. That's like one of many things that they're complaining about in terms of the visuals. What do you think about Diamond and Pearl, like in general as a game, and what do you think about like how does this look compared to like the originals?
So I'll just flat out come out and say this is one of my favorite games of all time. Um, I
I actually
have
had no idea that you liked. First of all, I had no idea that you really liked Pokemon as much as you do because somehow it just never came up between us. But yeah, like I would have never guessed that this was like one of your favorite games ever either.
Yeah, Gen 4 is really where like I hit my stride with Pokemon in regards to like how much I love these games. Um just as like a memory thing, these games came out in 2007, 2008, I believe. But this is one of the first games that I have memories of reading all the pre-release press. Because Pokemon every month I believe it's Koro, uh every month at the beginning of the month, Koro is a magazine in Japan that is famous for releasing, information and screenshots of the new Pokemon games coming up. And I remember going on to Cerebi.net, which is a very popular Pokemon news and information site. I went on Cerebi every day after school. I was always on top of the scans. This game was revolutionary because it changed the way that the game's played and stuff like that. um I followed this game from the beginning of when they started like releasing information about it. So the day that it came out, I remember that I I got it. I sat on the couch in my room, and I don't think I moved for like 7 hours. I was just so taken in by this game. It was one of like, one of the first Pokemon games that I got like on my own. Like I didn't have to get it as a hand me down from like a relative or anything like that. Um and I love these games so much. So that's my history with Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, as a side effect. I'll be on.
So as someone who loves that, so now that we know you love the game that much, the original, how do you feel about like this remake?
Well, on the surface, I can only take it so much because of the art style. And I'll just start by saying I was a little bit, I was a little bit let down, I'd say, by the art style, because Pokemon historically with their remakes has always brought whatever game they're remaking up to the standard of whatever that current game is. So you look at Fire Red and Leaf Green, they looked in the style of Ruby and Sapphire, which were the games at the time. The
Hmm.
same thing with Heart Gold and Soul Silver with Gen 4. The same thing with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire with Gen 5, and then so on and so forth. So I think a big reason why people were so disappointed is that people got onto the notion that, oh my god, whenever they release the Pokemon Gen 4 remakes, which have been heavily teased for years, it's going to be in the style of Sword and Shield. It's going to be this vast open world game with full body characters and Pokemon appearing in the overworld and stuff like that. And I just think people were a little let down when it just looks like it's a port. It's an updated port. With some added graphical stuff. And I'm not going to be one to complain, because if you're a Pokemon fan of like, and you like even a casual Pokemon fan, you've been playing the same game for the last like 25 years. Like, let's not even front. And I will be interested to see. And the game looks great in motion. Like all the battle animations and stuff look cool. So I'm gonna wait to see what they add to the game. I would love to see things from Platinum, implemented, like Giratina's realm and stuff like that. I want to see how they incorporate, what Pokemon are or are not available. But honestly, the art style, after like sitting on it for a few days and then sleeping on it, it's grown on me a little bit. So I'm more excited to see how the game plays. How it looks for now, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so it's funny to me because before this game was announced, right? I remember a lot of the people that I know who are the biggest fans of this generation of Pokemon, they really miss the pixel art graphics that we lost going into Sword and Shield, and actually going into Sun and Moon back on the 3DS. Actually, no, X and Y. So X and Y was the first game in the series to not have like that always over the head view and the classic Pokemon art style. And I remember thinking like, okay, so this fan base that really loves this generation of Pokemon, they don't they miss how it used to look and they don't like the new look of Pokemon, but they also want a remake or at least a port of Diamond and Pearl. So, like you said, usually the remakes are in the style of the latest Pokemon game. They bring it all the way up to date. So with this one, I feel like it's damned if they did and damned if they didn't, because if they had brought it into the modern like Sword and Shield art style, dude, people like, all right, even me, I like Sword and Shield so far. I'm still playing through it, but there are a lot of moments in that game that don't look good and definitely look
Sure.
subpar. And like that was like they literally took hell for that for like months on social media when Sword and Shield was like revealed, and people were like, "Dude, this game doesn't look great." So the fact that like they didn't go with the modern art style might have been like, hey, we don't want to disappoint this fan base that hates the modern Pokemon look. But then now that same fan base also doesn't like what they did in this other direction, where it looks. You know what the thing is? I'm actually at first I thought that the Diamond Pearl fans were being hypocrites because again I thought they would complain either way. But then I saw some graphic comparisons between like Link's Awakening the remake versus the original versus the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl original versus the remake they just announced, and there's actually a lot of similarities in the way that those games are the graphical style of those games. Like it is a chibified Link, and it's on a grid, and Link's Awakening remake looks incredible. It looks amazing. It looks fantastic. And people wanted that. Like there's a lighting engine in that game. Like it doesn't look muddy. Like the textures are not all muddy and stuff. Like I don't think people wanted Sword and Shield, but I actually am starting to agree that when I see the graphic comparisons of other games that kind of transitioned from the DS or the Game Boy era into 3D like that, it is disappointing. Like I personally don't care because I actually like Diamond and Pearl. I got it when the day it came out way back in like the 2000s or whatever on the DS. I played the heck out of it, but I have no reason to go back to it. Like I actually don't really go back with Pokemon games much. So for me, I was like, this game doesn't look great visually, but I also was not interested in it anyway, so who cares? But yeah, so I'm kind of coming around to like I usually don't like to side with the haters if I feel like they're being unfair, but with this, I kind of feel like this game, especially compared to how much money Pokemon makes as a series, how much money these guys and resources they have through Nintendo and all that stuff, like it really feels like they could have done better with this, man. Like this game does not, it almost looks like a mobile game. I just
Right.
don't think it looks that good, man. So I don't know. Again, I'm not disappointed because I wasn't interested, even if it looked like Link's Awakening. I wasn't going to buy Diamond and Pearl again. Um, but yeah, I kind of see what they're talking about. But the funniest complaint, and I need to hear how you feel about this because maybe you feel the same way I do. People like really are focusing on the decision to make the characters chibi, like to shrink them down and like they have these big heads or whatever.
Right.
And dude, like I've been seeing arguments on Twitter where people are like really complaining about that. And I'm like, yo, you guys know that they've been doing that in every Pokemon game since the first one, right? Like the beginning of the game, the intro of every Pokemon game before like X and Y, they would ask you like your name to put your name for your character, and then they would show you what your character looked like, and then they would literally show you an animation of him shrinking down into the game world, which is what the game looks like when you're playing it. So I don't know if those people just completely forgot about that, but like I'm not defending the Diamond and Pearl art style. Maybe they should have went with a whole other look, but like making them a chibi thing is not new. This is exactly what the original game did too. So like I don't know if how do you feel about this whole like chibi gate? But I don't know like how you feel about that, but it's just so stupid to me.
I think that kind of goes back to the argument you were making before, where it's like people are, it's like this is exactly what I meant by nobody was going to hate these announcements more than Pokemon fans because it was just going to be a vicious cycle of them just like contradicting themselves. So you know, it's weird because like yes, like Pokemon has always like shown you your avatar like shrinking into like the sprite like chibi style, but it's also one of those things where it's like, look how we've come so far since then. Because ever since 2013, when Pokemon X and Y came out, you've had like a somewhat like physical human model like on the overworld to look at. So I think people are just kind of fearing that Pokemon is like regressing, with that change back to the smaller like chibi art styles, but at the same time like they show the characters in full body art when they go into battle. So it's not like the game has completely gone back to how it looked, back in the DS days where like, it's 3D sprites like moderately animated like going back and forth at each other. So I don't know, I just think Pokemon fans are like impossibly hard to please. It's like asking your girlfriend where do you want to go to dinner and expecting to get like a result that makes sense, because it's not going to.
Yeah. So then final word on this, like are you as a huge Diamond and Pearl fan, are you going to buy this game or do you want to buy this game based off just what we know so far?
Oh, 100%, man. I have been looking for an excuse to go back and get these games, because the hard part about playing old Pokemon games, especially games from like this era of Pokemon, like the Gen 4 games, these games are still selling for like full price or like near full price used. Um, and like I just have so many fond memories of this, of this franchise. Like I said, like these games in particular, I followed the hype. I watched the anime every Saturday. My favorite Pokemon is Krogunk. And Krogunk's first appearance is in Diamond and Pearl. So like I feel very nostalgic towards that. So I am going to be the filthy consumer that I am, and I'm 110% going to buy one of these games day one without a question.
Yeah, right. So Pokemon Snap is like the thing I'm the most excited for, and Pokemon Diamond Pearl. This was like it's the inevitable Pokemon announcement that no one was really that surprised by. But then the most interesting announcement was this final game that they showed, an all new game, and it's called Pokemon Legends Arceus. And this is an all new Pokemon game that takes place in like the very, very distant past of Sinnoh. And it appears to be an open world Pokemon game and very, very much like inspired by Breath of the Wild, just in terms of like how the art style and how they set up the shots, even in the trailer. Like they did that same zoom shot from like behind the protagonist's back, and it just shows you the vast mountains and all that. And it's all about like they emphasize like the wilderness and like there's all these Pokemon in the wild and stuff. So this game looks very interesting because this is not something that anyone thought that they would announce, and um, it's very interesting because I'm not even sure I know what it is. Like based off of the trailer, it feels like the way people are interpreting it is that this is the next like big main installment in the Pokemon series, and it looks like it's an open world Pokemon game and all that stuff. Um, I'm not sure based off this trailer that I even understand what it is. Like they show you some battling, they show you like throwing Pokeballs at Pokemon without battling them at all. They show what seems to be like a more open environment where you don't like encounter a Pokemon and then go into the battle. And they show you just openly exploring stuff. And again, it takes place in the very distant past. So it's interesting because like a lot of the things that we kind of come to know about Pokemon are very technology driven, like having a Pokédex and like Pokemon centers and stuff. But this is taking place in the distant past before, like in a very not technological, very rustic, Pokemon land, and like the Pokeballs are like wooden. Like it's very interesting. So this announcement was like just it was very strange. It was very interesting. I'm still not sure I know what it is, which is a good thing because I just want to feel like something is new again, and Pokemon specifically, it feels like we know exactly what we're getting all the time. But what did you think? Like, what was your first impression of seeing Pokemon Legends?
Yeah, I have affectionately called this Breath of the Wild area. Because again, it's another sort of game that's trying to like, go for this sort of open world. You could definitely tell that it's got shade, it's got Breath of the Wild inspiration written all over it. I thought it was very interesting. I love, like I said, like I've said throughout this entire podcast how much I love Pokemon. And that even and whenever Pokemon is like veered to the right, like when Pokemon decides to zig instead of zag, I've always really appreciated those games too. Like I love Pokemon Coliseum. I love Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. When Pokemon decides to do something just a little bit different, I've always really liked those games. So this is another instance where I looked at this game from a surface and I'm like, okay, it looks like it's Breath of the Wild if Breath of the Wild was the Safari Zone, and you just go in with Pokeballs. I like the way that the Pokeballs look because I don't know if you remember this, Glenn. In one of the Pokemon movies, I believe it's the one with Celebi in it. Ash goes back in time, where he runs into a young Samuel Oak, and back in those times, they had Pokeballs that looked just like this, where you have to like turn a timer on the Pokeball and you have to like throw it like a grenade or something like that. And like it
Oh
like
wow.
yeah, so like the second I saw the art for those Pokeballs, I'm just like, oh my god, it's just like the Celebi movie, which is crazy. Um, but I agree. Like I don't like it's very very weird. And uh, I think the biggest issue that I'm sure we're going to discuss this is that the game was running at like 12 frames per second. And granted, that's just a release trailer, and by the time that game comes out, maybe we'll have an updated version of the Switch that can handle that sort of manpower. But concept wise, I love it when Pokemon does weird shit like this. So, I can't wait to see more of this. We're gonna have plenty of time to talk about it because this game's not coming out for a while. But yeah, all in all, I was intrigued. I'm optimistically curious.
Yeah, so it's supposed to come out next year in 2022. And if I had to guess by the looks of it, I would say late 2022, man. Dude, this game looks it looks like they showed it too early, dude. Like there are times where I'm watching the trailer and I'm like, "Oh, this looks really nice." But then there are other times where I watch it and I'm like, "Dude, like not only do I not even fully know what this game is, it's also like it just looks so early. Like and like you said, dude, it is a trailer. It's an early trailer, so I don't want to judge it too harshly, but like man, dude, they're gonna be shipping this game in two copies: Pokemon Resolution and Pokemon Framerate, bro. Like, there's gonna be two versions of this game, man. You're gonna have to pick Resolution or Framerate. I will trade you my Framerate Charmander for your high resolution Bulbasaur, bro. Dude, that's what's gonna happen with this game. Cause like, dude, this game looks really, really, really early, and it really worries me because, like, here's the thing: if this game is a response to the criticisms that Pokemon Sword and Shield got, where they're like, dude, you guys barely dipped your toe into like what people want with the wild area. Like that was like a very, very like modest way of giving people the Pokemon that they really, really want on a console, where it's a big home console, open like Pokemon adventure. And Sword and Shield was still very much a classic traditional Pokemon with a little hint of this and that. And so, if that's what this game is, which again, I'm not even sure that that's what it is. I'm just saying if it is this big new mainline like home console open world Pokemon game, like I'm even if I'm worried that Game Freak, the developers of Pokemon, they're biting off way more than they can chew because again, people need to remember Pokemon is made by Game Freak, and that is a very small team. And that's part of the reason why Pokemon has stayed so visually like conservative. And anytime they've made like these bigger games, it's always been with outside teams. Like Pokemon Coliseum was made by like HAL and like all the spin-off games where like Pokemon Snap and all that stuff, it was never made by the internal Pokemon team because that's not really their skill set. Like they have not made a game yet that is like this huge open world game, and that is something that like even Zelda struggled with, and they famously had like the biggest game development team that Nintendo's ever had for Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was the most expensive Nintendo game ever made. It was the one with the biggest team. It's the one that like they had to like outsource so much talent in order to pull that game off. And so that's what people want, right? And judging by this trailer and how it looks, I'm kind of like worried that like they're going to attempt to do that. And even if they had a Switch that was more powerful, like a lot of people are looking at this and going, "Oh, like the Switch is really reaching its limits." And I'm like, "Dude, nah," because day one we had Breath of the Wild. So this
Right.
is many years after Breath of the Wild. Like at this point, it has to be that team might just not be able to pull off that level of game. And so I don't know, man. Like I think I'm super excited about this, by the way, because it's just something so different, and it seems like that's where they're going. But I'm also like, man, they might really just not be able to pull this off. Like this game might ship next year and run at like Charlie Chaplin frame rates, bro. Like it might just be like some really choppy stuff. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure when it comes to the performance stuff. Um, the art style looks like a painterly art style. It looks like they're trying to pull like a Skyward Sword where they can hide some of the blurriness behind like, oh wait, that's actually just the art style, but really it's to mask the performance issues. And again, you mentioned it, like the Switch is kind of reaching the end of its run of like the base model, and like moving forward, they're gonna need to power up that system. And games like this, like I just don't know, man. I really don't know how to feel about this yet, even though I'm very excited because it's so mysterious.
Yeah,
Um,
I totally understand how you feel because like I'm sort of feeling shades of that now because like the more that I hear like talk about this game out loud and look at it, it feels like a Pokemon fan fiction like came to life and made a video game. Like you're playing in like Sinnoh in like the olden days. There's a legendary Pokemon that's like at the core of your story. You get to pick like three random starters from three random games, like
yeah.
that like don't make sense. Which by the way, picking my starter Pokemon is something I spend like weeks deciding on. This decision will keep me up at night because I love all three of these starters so much.
Dude, I get anxiety, bro, committing to a starter, bro. Like I literally just go, "Oh my god, like which one do I pick?" But this one, so real quick before hold on to your thought, but because you mentioned it, this game is doing something a little different. Instead of having 3 starters, all new starters, they have 3 starters that we from previous Pokemon generations. So the fire starter is Cyndaquil from generation 2, Gold and Silver. And then they have Oshawott as the water starter, and he's from Black and White Generation 5 of Pokemon. And then they have Rowlet from Gen 7, which is Sun and Moon. And for me, this is actually the easiest choice ever because for me, like Rowlet is my favorite starter ever. Ever. Like Sun and Moon as a game, not even like close to being my favorite Pokemon game, but that Rowlet, I love Rowlet. I love Decidueye. This, like, I'm not even gonna think. This is gonna be the easiest time I ever had picking a starter in Pokemon history, bro. I'm literally gonna go Cyndaquil, I don't care about, and Oshawott, I definitely don't care about. So Rowlet is free pick. Tell me who's your pick on this one. If you had to pick right now, who's your pick?
Cyndaquil is one of my favorite Pokemon, like ever. So like I gotta go with my dude, man. I'm in the same boat though. I love all three of these Pokemon. When it comes to like starter Pokemon, I very much am like I feel like the odd man out because I always pick like the grass starter with the exception of like 3 or 4 games. And the exception to the rule is always Cyndaquil, like 10 times out of 10. I love that line so much.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty I will still continue to lose sleep because again, I love all three of these Pokemon equally. Um, but no, Cyndaquil is my ride or die in this scenario.
So, like, one of the things is, again, like I brought it up a little bit earlier, I'm still not sure that I know what this game is because I watched the trailer again before we recorded, right? And I was like thinking, like, okay, people are interpreting it as this is big open world home console Pokemon game that everyone's always wanted. And part of me was like, I don't it might not be that. Like it might be this smaller experience where it's like, kind of like Gale of Darkness and like the few other times that we've gotten like spin-off games on home consoles where it might just be like, you know, some third pillar or like some, side thing and all you do is kind of just like you have one big open area and then you just fill up. It looked like they showed you the town had like barns in it because again, they have to figure out a way to replace the Pokemon Center and the PC because this is taking place in the very distant past. So they don't have a PC. So what I was thinking was all those barns are just going to be filled with all the Pokemon you catch and that's going to take the place of the PC. And it looks like maybe it might all just center around this one town and this one open area. And you're building up this town by catching Pokemon and having them do stuff. And it might really just be like a completely different Pokemon game and not what people think it is. I feel like people are a little too early to assume that this is like a mainline Pokemon game. It might be. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying it might be too soon for us to know for sure. Because again, the trailer doesn't say that that's what it is for sure. It just feels like a spin-off game. It could just be a spin-off game.
No, yeah, this definitely has shades of like Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. Like it exists within the generation, but it's just like it's another spin-off game. Like, and I don't think this is gonna like quantify as a main series game.
Yeah. Yeah, so again though, I am very excited about it because again, I love Pokemon a lot, but I'm also one of those people that after having played like almost every entry in the series, I'm like, dude, like, come on, man. I need this thing to grow a little bit more and change a little more. It feels like I'm going through the motions with each installment sometimes. And this very much looks like a very different type of game. So I'm like super excited to find out more. I just hope that it doesn't actually come out as Pokemon Framerate and Pokemon Resolution, bro. I just give me one version, combine those two things, and give me one version that has all the frame rate and all the resolution as
We'll
one.
we'll see, man. If these Switch Pro rumors turn out to be true, then we could be playing Pokemon in 720p in 2022.
Yeah, well, one of the funny things someone mentioned to me was how when this was announced, they were like, some people were saying, a fan of the show, Mr. Nair, he pointed out that 2022 might actually be like the 2017 of the Switch year, like all over again. Like in 2017, we had like 5 big, amazing Nintendo first party titles in one year. We had like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, like all these games came out. And 2022, like Breath of the Wild 2 at this point, I don't know if it's coming out this year. But if it comes out next year, you have like Bayonetta 3, Pokemon Legends, Metroid Prime 4, Breath of the Wild 2, maybe another Mario game. Like Splatoon 3 is confirmed for next year. Like there's already so many games confirmed for 2022 that like this might be a top heavy year. If this year is light, that then next year is going to be insane. But again, dude, it just feels like it feels like 2020, like it didn't end. And I'm still in 2020. And I can't believe it's already March of 2021. So the fact that people are excited about games coming out in 2022, I'm like, dude, I don't care, man. I am so like, I need time to slow down. I just don't want to look forward to a year from now and be like, oh,
Yeah.
look at all the games coming out this year.
The only games that I care about right now are Pokemon Pfizer and Pokemon Moderna. And those are the only Pokemon games that I are on my immediate radar right now. So
I'm waiting for the third one.
Pokemon
Pokemon AstraZeneca. That's the third one.
Oh
They
man.
always, what's funny? They haven't done the third Pokemon game in a long time. Like I remember
No, they
back,
haven't.
yeah, like Sun and Moon. Well, actually, it goes even further back because, they've been doing like okay, Red and Blue, and then they did Yellow, right? And they did Ruby and Sapphire, then they did Emerald, Diamond and Pearl. They did
The
Platinum,
last
right?
Diamond and Pearl was Platinum, and that was the last time they did it. Every
Yeah, and then
subsequent
Black and
Pokemon
White.
game has had sequels.
Yeah, and then Black and White. It was just let's just do Black and White 1 and Black and White. I mean Black and White 2. And then they did Sun and Moon, and then they did Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And obviously, people were making the joke that like for Sword and Shield, the third one was going to be Pokemon Gun, and that never came out. Sword, Shield, and Gun. But yeah, they haven't done that third one in a while, man. Like
I
I
feel
don't know if they're probably just thinking like we can make even more money just doing another like double instead of like a third one. The we do like the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And then technically there's 2 more copies. I think they know that there are Pokemon fans out there that literally buy every single game, even the other version of the same game. So they're just like, why would we not double our money and just put out like the same exact thing twice? And people will buy both versions.
yeah, it's weird. And I think if there's a version, because quite frankly, like the third version to me has always felt kind of like superfluous. Like I think it is what it is. Like I said, if you've played one Pokemon game, you've played all of them for the most part. I think one of the only cases where I would have like justified like a third version of the game being released is Pokemon X and Y, because Zygarde is one of the most nothing burger legendaries of all time. That Pokemon looked so freaking cool. And then like in Pokemon Sun and Moon, they start like it felt like Pokemon Sun and Moon was just like the Pokemon X and Y like 2.5. Like it like sometimes Z. It was weird.
Yeah.
Like Zygarde feels like it's such like a waste of space. And
Yeah.
that's definitely a case where like I feel like a third version of the game would have been warranted, but you know.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's also like I remember Zygarde in Sun and Moon. He's in the game, but you have to like collect the little like cells that he left around the island. And I'm just like, dude, I'm not collecting 100 of these, bro.
Oh, it's terrible. It was
Like
one of the worst parts of the game.
there's no way that I'm gonna go backtrack through the whole game to find this one little thing and then find out that I'm missing 6 other ones. Like, I'm good, man. I am John
Not to mention,
Goodman.
not to mention that Zygarde like looks way cooler as a Doberman Pinscher than he does as like whatever the hell he ends up becoming when you get all the Zygarde cells.
He has all those weird forms, and that Doberman one, he has like a leash. Like it's not a leash; it's literally him as a Pokemon imitating a leash. It's pretty funny. But yeah, Pokemon 25 years. I mean, geez, I'm honestly tired of celebrating or talking about anniversaries on this podcast. It feels like since we started, it's just been anniversary after anniversary, like Zelda 35 and Mario 35 and Pokemon 25, and then this week was actually the 4-year anniversary of the Switch and Breath of the Wild. So I was planning to talk about it maybe on the show, and I'm like, dude, I don't even. Who cares, man? It's 4 years. It's not even a special year. It's not even a special year. Like, wait until 5. We'll wait until 10. Whatever. But yeah, that's this week's show. We're gonna wrap it up around here. Kyle, is there anything that you wanna? You have any parting words? Any last words before you go?
So I will say that so in akin to what I do on my podcast is that I love to recommend people to watch pieces of media that I enjoy. So in honor of Pokemon's 25th anniversary, a franchise that is near and dear to my heart, I am going to get on my soapbox once more, Glenn, and tell everybody to watch the Pokemon XY anime. No matter what means you have to do to do so, I highly recommend everybody watch through the entirety of the Pokemon XY anime because the Pokemon anime has constantly been jokes. It's nothing of stature. It's nothing of importance. It's Saturday morning sugar. But the Pokemon X and Y anime, not only is it the best Pokemon anime, in my opinion, in anime standards, it's really, really good. There's character progression, there's like overarching plot stuff. It's they actually like sent the show out to like a legitimate like production company. I think it was like Madhouse Incorporated, who's done shows like Guilty Crown and stuff like that. I'd have to Google that to fact check myself. But it's a great series. Pokemon X and Y has like some of like my favorite like characters, like anime wise and stuff like that. So I highly recommend everybody go out and watch that show because it is in regards to Pokemon standards, it is phenomenal. So
nice. When are you gonna have me back on your podcast, bro? I want to be the first guest to come back.
You know what? Here's what we're gonna do, Glenn. We're gonna have a 4-hour podcast to talk about the Snyder Cut. You want to do that with me?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Honestly,
I'm penciling you in right now. We're doing this.
I can't do. Listen, I can't. First of all, hold on. So I can definitely talk about that for 4 hours. Okay, so it's not that I can't do it, but it's that I don't need 4 hours to get my point across on the travesty of like what is the Justice League movie and what it became and everything about it. And I am so curious about this Snyder Cut, even though I'm positive I'm not going to like it, but it can't be worse than what we saw in theaters. So that is hilarious. That is actually an interesting idea. I might actually take you up on that. That is actually hilarious.
I can't wait. By the way, just a quick note. The production company that handled the Pokemon XY anime was Production IG, who is some of their work includes Ghost in the Shell, if you're familiar and stuff like that. Let's see, there's a couple of other shows they've done here, but they've done Kuroko's Basketball, which is a show that I really like. And stuff like that. They've done a lot of sports anime, which is so like picture sports anime like looks great in motion, and Pokemon X and Y is another one of those shows that like motion, like the battles are beautifully animated, all like the visual effects look great. So there's my recommendation. But also, yeah, I have a podcast. I talk about pop culture stuff. I actually have an episode. My episode that came out last week. I sit down with my friend Retro Alley, who is a Pokemon content creator. I totally didn't plan it that way. So we talk about retro games and the Pokemania craze, 3.0 and stuff like that, and also have a very hot take on what the best new Star Wars movie is. If you're into that sort of thing.
Boy. That's another thing. If you want me to go on your podcast and talk about Star Wars, that's a whole nother, I could do 10 hours easy. I could do a tight 10 hours on that. I could kill on Letterman. Okay, I could kill on late night. Just talking about Star Wars for 10 hours, bro. I
don't even know if we might have to bring Craig Ferguson out of retirement.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go over Jimmy Fallon's house where he's filming his Tonight shows from now on. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. That's our episode. We will see you never, but you'll hear from us next week. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys. See you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Super Glentendo. The Glentendo Podcast is a weekly Nintendo/Smash community podcast. Our aim is to have galaxy brain conversations on all things Nintendo. If you like the show, please consider becoming a friendo and supporting on patreon.com/Glentendo. Friendos get early access to the show each Thursday. The show then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts right now and you actually like the show, please give us a good review. It helps boost our visibility so more people can find the show. This show is brought to you by our amazing producers, Naomi Eduardo, In a Yellow Flash, and the legendary Riz.